Hello there and welcome to the latest Sun Racing preview in association with Betway. I'm Tom Bull and I'm delighted this week to be joined by a smaller panel than usual that is just Jack Keene of Sun Racing. Good to see you, Jack.
Hello, Bully.
This weekend we are talking about Ireland. It's a massive weekend over there, but first up we're going to chat about the Betway Scilly Isles Chase, the Grade 1 over 2.5 miles at Sandown. A pretty amazing entry this year, isn't it? A lot of very, very good horses involved, including Larina, Fakir Duderi, Midnight Shadow, Pim, Good Boy Bobby, Itchy Feet and Precious Cargo. The market doesn't really know what to make of this race, but Larina is obviously the one to beat, isn't she, on form so far?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously it was a very disappointing what happened at Leopardstown last time, but I mean, she bled, so she had an excuse. As you say, it's a bit of a mystery. We're not really sure what's going to turn up at this stage, because a lot of these, well, especially the Irish horses, also ended up at Leopardstown.
Yes.
But I mean, if they were to come, I think Larina would have a massive chance. I mean, she could come, because she turned up for a toll a few years ago.
Absolutely true.
So Willie Mullins isn't scared of travelling them over, we know that. And if she is back to her best, then I think she'll take a hell of a lot of beating. I think 2.5 is more her trip.
Yeah.
Anyway, personally, I know she's got the speed for 2 miles, but I think she is 2.5 is pretty much bang on perfect for her. Absolutely,
couldn't agree more. Fakir Duderi, the other Irish contender.
Yeah.
If Joseph O'Brien does send him, I mean, he'll make them all go from the front, I would imagine.
Well, yeah, he's had a fantastic start to his chasing career, hasn't he? He's looked an absolute natural over his fences.
Lost out to a very good horse Notebook last time.
Yeah, lost nothing in defeat.
Yep.
He's going to have a big chance wherever he goes this weekend, whether it be Sandown or Leopardstown. Yeah, as you say, he jumps, bowls along in front. It's just great to watch, and he's a fantastic horse.
Absolutely. Joseph O'Brien is no strange sending his horses over to England. He's actually got a runner at Southwell today, I believe.
Well,
First runner.
Anything that Joseph saddles, you've got to give it massive respect, don't you?
Absolutely. Biggest challenge, if he does run from England, is Pim. Second highest in the race.
Yeah, again, we're not sure if he's going to run, but
I know. If he does run, I really hope he does run.
152, and obviously the horse he beat, Imperial Aura, ran perfectly respectably at Cheltenham the other day.
Yeah.
I quite like Pim, big horse, taking offence as well. I think 3 miles is his trip.
Yeah,
though.
so do I. I just hope if they do run him, they really go from the front, or at least very prominent with him.
Yeah.
He'll need to make it a test of stamina, I think, because he has improved a lot this season.
He's improved for the switch fences, no doubt. But for me, he's a proper RSA candidate. I worry he may just be a bit short of speed if he goes over 2.5. For all it's a stiff trip. But you're right, if they do drop him back and run him here, they'll have to be very positive on him, most definitely.
Definitely. And we've got to talk about Nigel Twiston-Davis.
Good boy
Bobby, who they absolutely love him, don't they?
Yeah, they think the world of this horse. Like Sam Twiston-Davis, some racing ambassador, Sam Twiston-Davis, rather. He's been very positive about this horse all year. They think he's got a massive engine. He was just touched off by Mr. Fisher.
Who obviously, Cheltenham. If Henderson does run him, he's got a line.
Obviously won the Lightning the other day, yeah.
Indeed, very easy actually.
He's got a very solid chance if he goes there. Still pretty lightly raced, and I still think he's capable of mixing it kind of Grade 1 level.
If you've got to put your head above the parapet and select one horse? Well,
I mean, if Larina comes, I would definitely be signing with Larina. I think we know she's a very high-class mare, so I will chance Larina. If on the off chance she didn't turn up, I'd probably side with Good Boy Bobby, but Larina.
He's solid, isn't he?
Yeah, he's pretty solid, yeah.
And I'll stick with Pim in the hope that he does run. I just think if they go out in front with him, it'd be very difficult to catch. And I also think Midnight Shadow is going to run a big race for Sue Smith. Moving on to the big weekend over the Emerald Isle. This is an absolutely fantastic 2 days of racing. Grade 1s galore. First up, we're going to be talking about the Irish Champion Hurdle.
Indeed.
On the Saturday, where without doubt, the star is Honeysuckle for Henry de Bromhead. This mare is an absolute machine. She won the Hatton's Grace last time in the style of a very, very progressive mare. And I do think she's going to take a hell of a lot of beating. However, she does take on the biggest test of her career and probably the hardest horse she's had to face in Sharjah. If you had to pick one of the two, who would you be siding with?
Honeysuckle all day long.
Yeah?
Yeah, she's an absolute aeroplane.
Isn't she?
Aeroplane, this mare. I mean, I really hope she goes and does it well, because that's going to force their hand and they're going to have to run her in the Champion Hurdle.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Because, I mean, at the minute, they're still saying, mares is the plan, but that's just so boring, isn't it? If you've got a top-class mare who can win an Irish Champion, you have to run in the Champion Hurdle.
I think it will take a seriously good horse to peg her back if she gets an easy lead.
Yeah.
She gets a weight allowance from Sharjah. I mean, Sharjah was very impressive in the Matheson over Christmas.
Yeah.
But he won that well last year, and he never quite seems to emulate it later in the season, does he?
There's no doubt he's a very classy individual, but I don't know if he's the most reliable.
I
mean, his record is littered with the odd defeat, the odd poor run. I wouldn't be banking on him personally. Obviously, Classical Dreams in there. What a damp squib his season's been.
I know. Well, it's interesting because I saw Paddy Mullins talking about him on the Road to Cheltenham, the Hostels programme on Racing TV recently, and he, after his poor run last time, and he said that he didn't think that Classical Dream was anything like his old self, because I don't know if you remember in the Sandown Festival last year, before he won the Supreme, he was very keen on the way to post, kind of putting his head all over the place, which he has done also this season. But this season, he's really struggled. And I just don't think he's got to show a hell of a lot more before you can go in on him.
Oh, absolutely.
And I do think it's between Honeysuck and Charger.
100%.
Going on now to the Dublin Chase. This is another very competitive, and we don't know who's going to run this for Willie Munners, do we? No. I mean, he's got Chacun Pour Soi, he's got Chelos Emery, and he's also got Min. Of the three, he's probably going to run two. Do we think? Maybe just one?
Potentially.
It's difficult to say. I think Min will probably sidestep this one.
Yeah.
He wants a bit further than this, I'd imagine. He's
2.5's his trick, really, isn't it? He could be a bit vulnerable back over 2 against some of these.
Exactly, and he's 11-2, which suggests he's probably not going to get the call up. Chilos Emery, I know you're a fan.
I'm a big fan of Chilos Emery, yeah. I mean, he's been quite a fragile horse. We haven't really seen... He's still lightly raced for his age. But I remember last year at Gowran when he came back from a bit of a layoff and he absolutely gagged up that day. It was so impressive.
Very impressive.
I've had a little bit on him at decent prices for the Champion Chase, I'm hoping he's going to go and stamp his authority on it.
Castle Grace Paddy, I'm going to give him a little mention at 40-1. Massive odds of 40-1. Pat Fahey's horse. He's just tremendous. He just got a very, very good record fresh. He won the Hilly Way Chase at Cork last year, Grade 2, on his reappearance by 16 lengths. The odds-on favourite fell that day, but he couldn't have been more impressive. And he's also won twice on other occasions on his return. So I think he's going to have it should cut up to around 4 or 5 runners this race. And I can see him going very, very well at a big price on his reappearance.
Yep. Chilos
Emery for you. I'm going to go with Aplutar and Castle Grace Paddy to run a big race. One more contest to talk about this weekend in Ireland, which is the Irish Gold Cup. Now, Kenboy, is he going to be back to his best? That is the big question, because he couldn't quite do it in the Savills Chase, but he was returning from a long layoff. He's quite clearly a very, very classy horse, and he's had his problems with ownership. Yep. This is probably the time when he really needs to show his hand, isn't it?
Yeah.
If he's going to have a big chance in the Gold Cup, for which he is still a short price. He's about 7-4 favourite for this race. But he's got to take on Delta Work, who was very impressive in the Savills Chase, stayed on very strongly at the line. And it's pretty mouth-watering, isn't it?
Oh, it's a cracking race, absolutely. And I am expecting a big run from Kenboy. I mean, he shaped pretty well, travelled well, and it was quite clear to me that he needed the run. He kind of just got pretty tired after the last. Delta Work, we know that Novice Chase run from last year with Santini on top of the game is pretty rock solid.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, Delta Work, he's got a big engine. For me, I quite like one at a rather tasty price.
Lovely. Great, I want to hear it.
Well, I mean, you're probably going to raise your eyebrows when I say Le Bago War.
No, not at all. Well, a bit, but
she's a massive price. Obviously, she had some fantastic form last year. She beat all Santini, top of the game, Lost in Translation. She beat all of them last year. She had a fantastic novice campaign. Beating at Aintree over 2.5, and I spoke to Warren Greytrix this week, who said 2.5's not her trip anymore. She wants 3 miles.
Okay.
He's really pleased with her. He said she's as good as she's ever been. You could put a line through the run at the Charlie Hall, bottomless ground that day. She was never right. Step in the right direction in the Peterborough. He said she still wasn't quite right, but they were pleased with her run at Donny.
That's quite a sharp track for 2.5 as well.
Yeah, and they were pleased with her run at Donny behind the excellent Lady Buttons.
She ran very
really
well.
rock solid form. They said they didn't make the most of her. They should have been more positive.
She probably would have won, actually, if they had made the most of it.
I feel like they perhaps should have kicked on a bit earlier, and I think she would have won.
Chris's Dream, who we haven't mentioned, won the Troy Town in very, very impressive fashion. A thorough stayer. He's now off 160. He's gone up a stone for that win, which still leaves him slightly way off the likes of Delta Work and Kenboy, but he's improving, and Henry de Bromhead is having the most extraordinary season. He really knows how to train his chasers. Trainer. Isn't he wonderful? He's going to have a good chance if he improves again. He's a very solid jumper, travels well. Presenting Percy's an interesting one. Star Novice Chaser. 3rd in the John Dirk and then 5th in the Savills Chase, which actually was, I thought, a bit of a step backwards.
Yeah, agreed. I backed him that day and I was very underwhelmed.
Yes, I know.
I thought he caught the eye on his reappearance. I was like, right, here we go, perfect. And he travelled and just found absolutely nil.
He doesn't seem to be the same horse,
the presenting Percy a couple of years ago.
I have to say, I've been torn between Kenboy and Delta Work for this
You've got to pick one, Bully. Get off the fence.
No, I shall raise myself off the barbed wire and go with Delta Work.
Very good.
Kenboy for you?
No, Le Bagoir each way for me.
Of course, but
I think
Kenboy the two.
For win purposes, I think Kenboy will take a bit of beating.
Well, hopefully Bagoir will win a big race for Warren Greytrix. Great. Now on to the Betway Lucky 15. 4 selections this week. 2 from us, 1 from Callum and 1 from Templegate. Delta Work in the Irish Gold Cup is the first one. We're also going to pick Honeysuckle in the Irish Champion. And Jack?
We've got Keelas Emery in the Dublin Chase and in the Scilly Isles, Lorena.
Great stuff. One last thing to talk about, Cheltenham Anti-Post. Ballymore Hurdle this week, everyone. Now, the massive favourite in this race, one that's been in the header market for quite a while now, is Envoy Allen, having shown pretty much imperious form in Ireland so far. Is there anything apart from him that you caught your eye?
Well, I really hope that they run Time Hill in this race. I know they've said they're leaning towards the Albert Bartlett, but I think he's got the gears to run in over 2.5.
Yeah.
And I think whatever race Time Hill turns up in, I think he'll win. I want them to take Envoy Allen on, because I know the Irish think he's an absolute good thing, but I'm not so sure. Excellent.
I like it a lot. I kind of agree. I think once he comes across a really good horse, they might give him something to think about. And maybe one horse that is that good is Asterion Forlange, or Forlong. It's a very strange name.
Is he running this weekend?
He is hopefully going to run this weekend. He's about 8-1, Mark. I think it's a big old price. He's around 16 for the Ballymore, but I can see him running a huge race if he comes on for that brilliant victory last time at Naas. Jack, thank you very much for your insight this week. It's been a pleasure. All of you at home, hope you have a wonderful weekend of racing. Hopefully we give you some winners and enjoy it all. And we'll see you all very soon.